مساء الخير وأهلا بكم إلى حلقة جديدة من واشنطن أونلاين. معي أنا هدي العويس على شبكة نورث بريس. تتسبب عودة أردوغان إلى المشهد الرئاسي في تركيا بإحباط وتشاؤم عدد من صناع القرار الأمريكيين الذين يرون أن الرئيس أردوغان أخذ العلاقة التركية الأمريكية إلى مكان لا يصب بالضرورة في المصلحة الأمريكية، خاصة من خلال مواقف تركيا الأخيرة مع قوات سوريا الديمقراطية، الحليف والشريك العسكري على الأرض للولايات المتحدة في محاربة تنظيم داعش، وعلاقات تركيا وتصعيدها في عصر أردوغان مع الحليف اليوناني، ومؤخرا تقارب وتحالف تركيا مع روسيا في وقت يواجه فيه العالم الغربي روسيا وغزوها في أوكرانيا. فإلى أين تذهب العلاقات التركية الأمريكية، وكيف يؤثر مستقبل هذه العلاقة على شمال شرق سوريا؟ هذا ما أبحثه في حلقة اليوم من واشنطن أونلاين. وضيفي لهذه الحلقة هو السيد هارولد رود، المسؤول الأمريكي السابق في وزارة الدفاع البنتاغون في عهد جورج بوش، حيث أشرف هارولد رود على صياغة العلاقات الأمريكية مع إقليم كردستان العراق. ابقوا معنا للمتابعة. أبدأ الآن مع ضيفي السيد هارولد رود، ينضم إلينا من فلوريدا. أهلا وسهلا بك سيد رود. سيد رود، قبل عقد أو عقدين من الزمن وحين كنت في وزارة الدفاع الأمريكية، كان هناك تفاؤل أمريكي كبير بشخص أردوغان، بقيادة أردوغان للمشهد السياسي في تركيا، ثم بدأ ينقلب هذا التفاؤل إلى تشاؤم، واليوم هناك نظرة سوداوية لدى الكثير من صناع القرار في الكونغرس الأمريكي تحديدا لمستقبل العلاقة الأمريكية مع هذا الحليف الذي كان مهم لوقت طويل، تركيا، بسبب فوز أردوغان من جديد في الانتخابات. أين تضع العلاقة الأمريكية التركية اليوم، ولماذا حدث كل هذا التغيير في النظرة الأمريكية لأردوغان؟
Well, American culture is obsessed with finding moderates. I mean, I only want to kill 1,000,000 people instead of 5. Why is this important? Erdogan knew how to talk a language that Americans like to hear. He sounded moderate. And so a lot of government officials were very, very, oh my God, finally, we'll get a moderate Muslim. I don't know what moderate Islam is. As even Erdogan himself said, Islam is one. Islam is Islam. There's no moderate or extremist Islam. And once we do that, we lie to ourselves. And we didn't want to see Erdogan for what he was. And all you need to do is learn a little bit about his history, and you realize he is for him, the Muslim Brotherhood, Ikhwan, is paramount. That's the mentality that he has. That's the mentality that he grew up with. And he slowly, shall we say, re-Islamified the government of Turkey. And Americans had egg in their face. I was asked by all sorts of people how did you know? Well, if you know anything about Turkish culture, and frankly, I also have a PhD in Ottoman history. So I spent a lot of time in Turkey before I was at the Pentagon. And so you get to understand the mentality of the people. And American government officials believe that once you learn English or speak English, which for the American government is the holy language, then you think like Americans. And that is simply not true. And that's how we were bamboozled into believing that Erdogan was, quote, a good guy. Erdogan is no good guy. He's a dictator. And we have chosen to be clueless. We don't need to be, but we've chosen to be clueless at our peril.
هارولد، ذكرت أنه على الولايات المتحدة أن تفهم طريقة تفكير الشعوب في الدول الحليفة والشريكة لكي تعرف كيف تتعامل معها، وبالفعل اليوم في تركيا الغالبية العظمى بحسب معظم الإحصاءات في تركيا ينظرون إلى الولايات المتحدة بطريقة سلبية، وخاصة فيما يتعلق اليوم أهم استراتيجيات الولايات المتحدة في المنطقة، وهي مقاتلة تنظيم داعش بالشراكة مع قوات سوريا الديمقراطية. هل هناك تفهم اليوم لتغير طريقة التفكير التركي تجاه السياسات الخارجية الأمريكية، خاصة في الكونغرس الأمريكي في أوساط الجمهوريين، وكذلك في السلطة التنفيذية سواء كان الرئيس أمريكي وديمقراطي؟ كيف ممكن أن تتعامل الحكومات الأمريكية مع هذا الخلاف الكبير اليوم بين تركيا والولايات المتحدة؟
Well, there's a lot there. Uh, uh, I hope that eventually that Turkey will again be an outstanding member of the NATO alliance, of the Western alliance, and pro-American. But there's a very deep problem here. It's not Islam as a religion, but Islamic culture. Many young people in Turkey are simply fed up with what Erdogan has done from a religious point of view, and they no longer consider themselves Muslims. They say we are theists. We believe in God, but not Islam. But what is interesting is Erdogan went out of his way, for example, to vilify Israel. And again, it was for religious reasons. From his point of view, this territory, once a territory is conquered by Islam, it's Muslim forever. And from his point of view, Israel is is Islamic territory, and so of course it doesn't have a right to. Jews don't have a right to rule Islamic territory. Only Muslims do. Now, that is, let's say, one. But what is happening with these young people who call themselves theists, highly educated in Turkey? Many of these people still hate Israel, even though they have left Islam, because Turkey is ruled by a traditional Islamic culture which doesn't believe that minorities, that is, non-Muslims, can be equal. It's very sad, but it is the way it is.
سيد هارولد، هل تعتقد بوجود خلاف في شكل التعامل مع تركيا وتحديدا الرئيس أردوغان بين الجمهوريين والديمقراطيين؟ لأننا يعني أنت من الحزب الجمهوري، وكان الرئيس السابق دونالد ترامب يتعامل بود كبير مع الرئيس أردوغان، حتى أن دونالد ترامب بارك للرئيس أردوغان على فوزه قبل أسابيع عبر منصة تروث في السوشيال ميديا، وبكلمات ودية جدا تجاه أردوغان. على ماذا يعول هؤلاء من كل هذه المشاعر الإيجابية تجاه أردوغان؟
Well, I hear what you're saying. I'm not really sure what the real story is here. I'm not sure that President Trump was as pro-Erdogan as as it sounds here. I think that the Biden administration is simply clueless. There were people around Trump who had an idea of what Turkey was, but look, the answer is, why is Turkey important? Is because it is where the Russians and beforehand the Soviets had an exit, the only warm water port that Russia and before that the USSR had. And that's why Turkey was so important. But I'm not sure Republicans and Democrats. Look, I used to, when I was the Turkish desk officer at the Pentagon many years ago, people would come and they would, want to know, oh my God, they would say all sorts of things about Turks. And I would say, you've got to understand, when Americans wake up in the morning, as they stretch, they don't say to themselves, geez, I wonder what's happening in Turkey today. America has many problems to worry about. And the result is that it's really not one of the most important problems that America has to deal with, much to the Turks' chagrin.
واحدة من التغيرات الكبيرة التي حدثت في السياسات الخارجية التركية هي تقبل تركيا لفكرة وجود كيان كردي على حدودها، وهنا نتحدث عن إقليم كردستان العراق، وهذا جرى بعد سنوات من الرفض التركي. ولكن الولايات المتحدة حين كنتم في وزارة الدفاع الأمريكية في البنتاغون أسهمت بشكل كبير في إقناع تركيا بتقبل هذا الواقع. هل من الممكن أن نرى الولايات المتحدة تعيد الكرة وتكرر التجربة وتحاول الضغط على تركيا أو إقناع تركيا بتقبل وجود الإدارة الذاتية وقوات سوريا الديمقراطية ككيان مستقر على حدودها؟
Well, the problem that the Turks have with any Kurdish entity, northern Iraq, Rojava in northeastern Syria, um, is existential. What do I mean by that? Erdogan has said that that they believe that by the year 2038 there will be an equal number of Kurds and Turks in Turkey. The truth is, the Interior Ministry in Turkey already 5-10 years ago knew that that 50-50 mark is already breached. Now, here we have a problem of definition. What is a Kurd? Now, from my experience in Turkey, and again, it's, oh my God, I think the first time I went there was 1968. And the last time I was there, frankly, was about 10 years ago, because I don't think I'm particularly wanted in Turkey today. Anyway, I remember that I was with some friends, Turkish citizen friends, we'll say for the moment. And one of the guys there who spoke only Turkish had a very interesting background. His grandfather, on his father's side, was a Kurd from the southeast of Turkey. His grandfather immigrated to Istanbul, which is, by the way, the largest Kurdish city in the world. In the world, Istanbul. His grandfather immigrated to Istanbul in Turkey and married an ethnic Turk. My friend's father there grew up really with kitchen Kurdish at best, meaning that he spoke a few words, that's it. My friend's father also married an ethnic Turk who knew no Kurdish. My friend was born, his wife is ethnic Turkish, he has children, he has grandchildren. So I said, well, what are you? And his answer in Turkish, because that's all he knows, is Kürt albete. Of course I'm a Kurd. What is the definition of a Kurd? Who he doesn't know the language, never lived in Kurdistan, in Turkish Kurdistan. It is your father's line. His father's, whatever, min zaman, if you wish, in Arabic, are Kurds. And he identifies as a Kurd, even though he has absolutely no connection within a Western point of view. He doesn't know Kurdish. Culturally, he considers himself, and that's what matters. And by that definition, which is their definition, Turkey already has probably a Kurdish majority. As I said, the Interior Ministry of Turkey already knows this. And that's what scares them. They are afraid. They try to Turkify, make people into Turks by linguistically Turkifying them. And Erdogan goes even further, and that is that an Alevi Kurd, which is frankly Alevism in Turkish Alevi, it's not Alawi in Arabic. They're separate groups. These people are closer to Iranian Shiism. And there's a whole history there. Erdogan has done his damnedest to try to Sunnify them, if I could say. And he has failed. So what I'm saying is that, and the entities that you mentioned, first of all, northern Iraq, as long as Turkey had an economic stranglehold on on the Kurdish area of northern Iraq, it could basically, the moment it wanted, it could cut things off. Rojava is just one more problem like that. It's like, oh my God, wherever we look, the Kurds are taking over. What is going to happen to our beloved Turkish Sunni Ikhwani Muslim culture? It's a problem.
سيد هارولد، من كلام حضرتك ومن الكثير من التصريحات التي تخرج من الكونغرس الأمريكي وكذلك المقالات في الصحف الأمريكية، بإمكاننا أن نتفق بأن العلاقات التركية الأمريكية اليوم ليست بأفضل أوقاتها، وأنها ذاهبة تجاه المزيد من التدهور في ظل وجود أردوغان في السلطة. أنتم تعرفون تركيا جيدا، عملتم في المكتب التركي في وزارة الدفاع الأمريكية. هل تركيا قوية بما يكفي لتصمد، لتبقى مستقرة في هذه المنطقة المضطربة وتواجه كل التحديات التي تواجهها دولة مثل تركيا دون علاقة قوية ومتينة مع الولايات المتحدة؟ هل بإمكان تركيا فعلا أن تكون بلد قوي دون علاقاتها مع الغرب؟
Well, can I give you an answer which is a parable story? There, in the 1856 Crimean War, which was basically the Russians against the against the Ottoman Empire. And the Russians were advancing on all forces. And the Ottoman establishment was like, oh my God, what's going to happen to us? And then, for their own reasons, the British decided that they were going to intervene on the side of the Ottomans. Why? Because they saw Russia as their enemy. And the Ottoman reaction went from, oh my God, we're going to fall apart, to the British Empire's very survival is dependent on the Ottoman Empire. So they went from, oh my goodness, to we are so strong and so powerful. Turks are not so powerful. I don't care how many people they have in their military. They're really no match for the United States. And right now, Turkey is playing both sides of the issue of Ukraine and Russia, which is a very, very important thing to the American government. The American government is very clearly pro-Ukraine. Turkey is doing all sorts of things which are against American sanctions, and at the same time helping maybe a little here, a little there, Ukraine, but really it's pro-Russian. Not only that, if Turkey is such a great NATO ally, as the Turks try to say, then why did Erdogan buy these missiles, S-400 missiles? These are Soviet Russian missiles, which they hurt NATO, they hurt America. So I don't care what Erdogan and company say. I care what they do. And I don't think, given what Erdogan has been doing, frankly, he was first mayor of Istanbul before he became prime minister. Even way back then, he is not a friend of America.
شكرا جزيلا لك ضيف السيد هارولد رود، كنت معنا من فلوريدا. وختاما شكرا لكل متابعي برنامج واشنطن أونلاين، ألقاكم في حلقة جديدة الأسبوع المقبل، إلى اللقاء.